All right, Greek students, here we are in chapter 10, and we are entering the realm of third declension words. Third declension nouns and adjectives. All right, here's the good news. The good news is, in the past, we've been learning a lot of different grammatical stuff, like how does an adjective behave? What's a predicate nominative? And all these different things. So, what's a noun? What's an adjective? What's a preposition? Okay, in this chapter, we are learning no new grammar. We already know. We know what a noun is. We know what a preposition is. We know what an adjective is. We've walked through the uses of adjectives as attributive or substantival or as predicates. No grammar here. Okay. But what we are learning is we're learning about third declension nouns. And a third declension noun is, well, to review, a first declension noun is a noun with a stem that ends in either alpha or eta. Okay. Second declension nouns are words that have stems that end in omicron, so masculine and neuter essentially. So far what we've learned is that first declension is primarily feminine and second declension is masculine and neuter. Okay, so what we're learning today is that there's another way that Greek words behave, and that is if a Greek word has a consonant as its final stem letter. Okay, now that could be, the final stem letter could be a tau, it could be a kappa, it could be a nu. There's all kinds of different letters that could end a stem. Okay, and what we're going to learn today is that those words, when they take case endings, they will take a unique set of case endings. Now, some of the case endings are the same throughout dative or they're throughout first, second, and third declension. But the third declension does have, it uses three new case endings. And so I'm doing it in this order. So the start of the chapter is an introduction to third declension words, and then it goes into all these different third declension words. And then at the very end of the chapter, it provides the chart of the case ending. What I want to do is I want to start us off with the different case endings. And then what I'm going to do is I'll do a couple of extra lectures on various words and how the case endings interact. Okay. But this one is just about introducing the new case endings. All right. So I am on page 101 in your book, and it is chapter 10, 10.14. 10.14. And you should have on the right-hand page, on page 101, this chart, a couple of charts. One is the case endings, and then underneath the case endings with the final stem vowels. So let's just look at this first chart here and look at what we recognize. So you can see here we've got masculine, feminine, and neuter. These would be first declension, feminine, and then second declension, masculine and neuter. And then over here, now we have third declension endings. And what we're going to find out is that third declension endings, the third declension, this is one declension that is not necessarily tied to a gender. So you could have masculine and feminine gendered third declension words, and you could have neuter third declension words. Okay? Masculine and feminine endings are of a certain type, and neuter endings are of a certain type. Okay? So that's the first thing for us to recognize about the third declension. So far, we have tied first declension primarily with feminine and second declension with masculine and neuter. What we're going to find over here in the third declension is that the third declension could be any gender, but obviously each word will have its own gender. But just because it's third declension does not mean it's a particular gender. The endings for masculine and feminine are the same, and neuter has its own endings. Okay, that's the first thing that I want to point out. Okay, I also want to point out that the majority of these endings are actually the same as from the first and second declension. There are a handful that are unique. Okay? All right, so let's walk through what these are. Okay? So third declension endings, nominative singular. Okay? If it is masculine or feminine, it will take a sigma. It will take a sigma, which is very similar over here to the nominative singular in the masculine. Okay? So third declension words, masculine or feminine, will take a sigma. If they are neuters, they are not going to have any ending. They are not going to have any ending. Okay, so which is similar to the feminine over here in the first declension. So, and we'll talk about how that works with various words and what their final stem vowels are or final stem consonants are. Okay, all right. So nothing particularly new. There's some new ideas up here in the nominative singular, but no new endings. Now down to the genitive singular, we have new endings, right? So the genitive singular third declension ending is omicron sigma. Omicron sigma. Okay, so third declension genitive singular endings are omicron sigma. We don't have that anywhere else here. In masculine and neuter, it's upsilon, and in the feminine, it's first declension, it's sigma. But over here in the third declension, it is omicron sigma. Okay, and we'll talk about how that works in various words. Dative singular, dative's awesome because it is, this case ending is still an iota. Iota, 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 iota. Now what we're going to find is that over here in the first and second declensions, those iotas will subscript under lengthened vowels. But over here in the third declension, you don't have vowels to lengthen. You don't have a final stem vowel. So the iota will simply be showing up at the end of these stems. Okay? But it is still, sorry, I got a bug here in my office. What's going on? I'm inside. But we have, so iotas. And that's what his footnote says here, because the third declension stems end in a consonant. The iota cannot subscript as it does in the first and second declensions. It remains on the line in that way. Okay. Accusative singular is new, new, new. And then we still have a new here, but also the alpha or nu in the accusative singular, masculine and feminine endings here. Some words will take the case, it'll alternate. So there will be some ambiguity. Sometimes you'll see an alpha, sometimes you'll see a nu, depending on what the word is. Okay, that's masculine and feminine. Neuter has no case ending. And again, remember our noun rules. The nominative and accusative neuters are always identical. Nominative and accusative neuters are always identical. Okay? We learn that as a noun rule. Okay. So far we have really a couple of new endings showing up here. Okay, let's go down to the bottom here in the plurals. Nominative, masculine or feminine in the third declension, the ending is a new ending. It's an epsilon sigma. Epsilon sigma. So that should be too hard to remember, because in English, when we pluralize words, we use an S or an ES on that, and so that there is some overlap maybe in to pluralizing, but obviously we saw you either have oi or I. One thing about neuters is neuters are great. Neuters like to behave very similarly. The alpha ending for the neuter there, and then we have an alpha ending for the neuter here. Nominative plural neuter is an alpha ending. And you can read the footnote on that. And again, as you look, if you can fill in this box for a neuter, it's going to be the same down here. Okay, alpha. So very obviously similar there, and there's no changes to the neuter as we move over to the third declension neuter. Okay, genitive plurals, you got own, 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 own. Same thing. Okay, so nothing to be afraid of here. This is kind of standard. Even with third declension, you'll see the omega nu. Okay, what we see with the dative plural, iota sigma, iota sigma, iota sigma. The only thing that happens over here is they transpose. So instead of iota sigma, you have sigma iota, sigma iota. And then at the end of sigma iota, you have what is called a movable nu. And the movable nu is that sometimes that it'll be either sigma iota nu, or it'll drop out completely and it'll just be sigma iota. The nu is movable. That end sound is movable on or off. And then finally, our accusative plural in the third declension for masculine and feminine is omicron, or is alpha sigma. So very similar here to the feminine. And in the neuter, again, nominatives and accusatives are always identical. Nominative singulars and accusative singulars are identical in the neuter, and nominative plurals and accusative plurals are identical in the neuter. So those are your new case endings. And what we're going to go about doing is in the next few videos is we are going to walk through various words and how these endings interact with those various words, and how we can go about memorizing them and recognizing them. We're going to look at a number of patterns from chapter 10 as well as a few from chapter 11. All right. That's the new stuff for the third declension.